Welcome to the channel. Now we are going to start medicine. Okay, so in medicine the first topic is the cardiology. So under cardiology we will be what is the program. So the structure of the video lectures will be going from first we will be having the heart sounds, and then we will be discussing the valvular diseases, and then into the main diseases of the heart like hypertension, infective cardiomyopathy, and other main topics. Okay, so this is the outlook of the today's section. So first discussing about the heart sounds. So first heart sound. So heart sound. Okay, so I will just brief a quick session S2, S3, S1, S2, S3, and S4. And first discussing about the S1. So what is S1? So S1 is what is S1? So what S1 is mainly due to the closure of the mitral and the tricuspid valve, and approximately 30% filling of the ventricle occurs during the atrial systole, and 70% occurs in the rapid filling phase. And there comes a stage here, it is the isovolumetric contraction, and there is no blood entering or leaving the heart. Which heart sound is present after S1? Okay, so S1, just remember that mitral and tricuspid. So mitral and tricuspid closure. Okay, so closure produces this, and so what happens, it is an atrioventricular valve. This is the atrium, this is the ventricle, right and left. So this is where the mitral and the tricuspid valves are present. So atrial systole gives first the rapid filling phase occurs. It gives the 70% of the volume of the blood in the atrium to the ventricle, and the remaining 30% is given by the atrial systole. Okay, so now the blood is in the ventricle. And what is the next heart sound? So next heart sound is due to the opening. So now the blood is in the ventricle, so next we have to open the aortic and the pulmonary valve. So this is given by the ejection click. Okay, so this is given by the ejection click. So the amount of blood pumped by the left and right ventricle is equal and is pumped at the same time. This is very important point, equal and pumped at the same time. And then S2, then coming to the S2 here. So what is S2? So S2 is nothing but the closure of these valves. So it's an opposite of the ejection click. It's just the opening, and this is the closure. And S2 is always written as A2 and P2. Okay, so though the volume is same, the opening is same, and the blood pumping is also the same between the aortic and pulmonary valves, the always given by A2 and P2, because aortic valve closes before P2. So this is the reason. Okay, so the time lag between the aortic and pulmonary valve can be heard physiologically and is called as the splitting of the second heart sound, and the time lag is 30 milliseconds. So this is called as splitting, and this is time lag is given by 30 milliseconds. And coming to the isovolumetric relaxation. So isovolumetric contraction S1, isovolumetric relaxation. Now the blood has entered into the pulmonary and the aortic system, and now the heart has to relax. So this is given by the isovolumetric relaxation, and it is a period between IVR, and it is a period between S2 and opening snap. Okay, so briefing it once again. So I will just change the color. Okay, so we have started with the S1. Okay, so S1 M1 M2 closure, 30% aortic systole, 70% rapid filling, and then here comes a phase of isovolumetric contraction where there is no blood enters or goes out, and then the in the now the blood is in the ventricle, so we have to open the aortic and the pulmonary valve. So opening is given by the ejection click, and then closure, the blood equal at the same time, and the closure is given by the S2, is the ejection opposite of the ejection click, and A to P2, A2 closes first, P2 closes second. So the time lag is 30 seconds. So there's a splitting here, and then there's a period of interventricular relaxation period, and the period after S2 is the opening stump. So we have just completed this, and blood is trying to come back into the ventricles, but it is not allowed to enter into the ventricles. Okay, so in this phase, the isovolumetric relaxation, the ventricles go on a relaxation, but the bloods are not allowed to enter back into the ventricles. Okay, the heart sounds after S2 is the opening snap, and the opening snap is due to the opening of the mitral and tricuspid valve. So again, the first thing. Okay, so opening of the mitral and tricuspid valve, when there is a just opening snap is a physiological one. I will just change the color here. Opening snap is a physiological one, but the loud opening snap is seen in mitral stenosis. Okay, so we have just then coming to the there's a classification here between high pitched and low pitched. Just remember three low pitched sounds: S3, S4, and tumor plop sound in aortic atrial myxoma. So these are the three low pitched sounds, and other everything is the high pitched sound. Okay. So low pitched sounds. So what is the main clinical significance? Is the low pitched sound has to be heard with the bell, and whereas the high pitched sound can be heard with the diaphragm itself. Okay. So then S4. Then coming to the okay. Then coming to the S4. S4 is present just before the S1. So it is the given by the pre-systolic heart sound. Systole here, it is the atrial systole, pre-systolic heart sound before S1. Okay. So then diastasis is the period when the diastasis. So diastasis is the period when the heart will have the least motor activity, and this is an important question. So diastasis is the period the heart will having the least motor activity, and S4 is the atrial galloping rhythm or atrial kick or excessive force generated by the left atria, which is heard in a phase of atrial systole just before the atrial systole, when the excessive force atrial kick, okay, or maybe the atrial galloping rhythm. So this is the S4 and S3. So S3 is the ventricular galloping rhythm. Okay. So ventricular gallop. So ventricular gallop is the ventricular phase during turbulence. Okay, heard in the rapid rushing of the blood into the ventricles. It produces this heart sound, and that is the S3. It is heard in congestive heart failure patients because the load is very high in those patients. Okay, then having it in a sequence. So S1, okay, accepted. Ejection click, accepted, and then S2, okay, done. Opening snap, okay, done. And then coming to the S3. So what is the S1 and S2? It's the atrial systole, and here the blood goes out. It's the what is this? S1 is the closure of M1, M2. Okay, I mean the mitral valve and the tricuspid valve, and ejection click is the opening of this aortic and pulmonary valve, and S2 is the closure. And then coming to the opening snap. So what is the opening snap? I have said that okay, then coming to the opening snap, and then to the S3, and then to the S4. S4 is atrial gallop, S3 is ventricular gallop, S opening snap, so opening of the MNT. Okay, so just have it as a sequence. So the blood is in the atrium, it contracts, atrial systole, S1, and then closure of the mitral and tricuspid, that is the first one, and then opening of the atrium and A2P2. Okay, here, but we don't mention it here, but here it is the A2P2 closure, the opening at the same time, so we don't usually mention it that way. Then coming to the opening snap is again the opening of the M1 T1, and then it is the S3. So S3 is a rapid gushing of blood into the ventricles, ventricular gallop, and then and also the S4. So S4 is heard before S1. So it is the atrial galloping rhythm. Okay, so then coming to the atrial myxoma. So first condition of the heart. So atrial myxoma is the most common benign tumor. Okay, done, benign, and metastasis. Okay, commonest tumor of MET. Okay, it is a freely floating in the lumen of the left atrium, so in a way blocking the left atrium. So left atrium, it just hangs in there, so it blocks the leaflets here, so it mimics the mitral stenosis. Okay, so auscultatory finding. So here the auscultatory finding is the tumor plop, and this is an low pitched sound along with S2 and S3 and S4. And when the blood entering into the LA hits the tumor after opening of the valve. So after opening, so what is the opening sound? So opening sound here is the can you remember which is the opening of the S2, the M2 M1 T1 opening snap. Okay, so after the opening only here after the opening of the mitral and the tricuspid valve, the LA hits the tumor. I mean the blood entering the LA hits the tumor, and the tumor moves like a pendulum and strike against the opened mitral valve, and that produces a tumor plop sound. If the size of the tumor increases, it limits the blood flow through the mitral valve and behaves like a mitral stenosis. When the size increases, Okay, tumor hits on already open mitral, so the sound will be heard after the opening snap. Yes, now the equation becomes complete. So symptoms are the breathlessness. Okay, and then in sitting position due to gravity, because the sitting position that the tumor falls on the mitral valve and physically obstruct the blood flow. And then what is the typical case scenario? So the case scenario will mostly be comprising of an young female. Okay, effort intolerance means she gets exerted over with respect to the physical exertion, get tired very soon. Iron supplements, but symptoms not relieved. She came back with worsened symptoms. She also developed tachypnea. So keywords maybe the young female, and effort intolerance, dyspnea and exertion, and it has developed to the platypnea. And platypnea, so these two main conditions. Platypnea, just remember, it is the atrial myxoma. Whereas orthopnea, it is the acute congestive heart failure. So the heart sound on examination is the tumor plop sound, and it is the heard with the bell of the stethoscope. And then another one peculiar finding of the mitral stenosis is the mid to late diastolic murmur, increased turbulence. So what is the mid or late diastolic? The low pitched tumor plop, except all the okay. Mid to late diastolic murmur. So diastolic murmur means the due to the obstruction in the filling of the ventricles because of the obstruction exhibited by the myxoma uh, over the flow of the blood from the atrium to the ventricle. So that is the place we have to hear, and the crepitations will be there because the LA pressure will be increased. So bilateral pulmonary edema will set in. So bilateral fine crackles is seen. So investigation of choice is the transesophageal echocardiography. The treatment is the surgical resection, and prognosis is good if resected early. Tumor cells might embolize and gives like a transient ischemic attack like symptoms, and the tumor can also cause clot formation, and that can cause embolization. Okay, so the differential diagnosis is the papillary elastoma. So papillary elastoma, so papilla, so the tumor arises from the leaflets, valve leaflets, and the main is the prosthetic valve. And the valve would have the prosthetic valve would have destroyed the local structures like the other leaflets at the time of diagnosis. So usually in this time, the main thing has to be a surgery and heart transplantation. And most common cause of the tumor is the mets. So mets can be from three places. It is the oat cell, that is the lung, and the breast carcinoma, two main adjacent structures, and malignant melanoma. And the most common primary malignant tumor of the adult is the angiosarcoma, whereas in children pediatric group is the rhabdomyosarcoma. Benign tumor is the atrial myxoma, and here it is the rhabdobiome. Okay, and then coming to the tubercular second condition, it is the tubercular pericarditis. So most common extrapulmonary TB is the cervical node, and it is the Gons focus. So Gons focus is the TB bacilli gets present in the tonsils, that is called the Gons focus. And even jugular digastric nodes, they rupture and causes cold abscess. Okay, then coming to the clinical features. So clinical features typically of the TB is the weight loss, night sweats, low grade fever, readiness of temperature, and decrease in 5% of weight loss is considered significant over a period of involuntary loss over a period of 6 months. That is significant. And chest pain at rest is very typical. So any person chest pain at rest in a country like India, we have to suspect a TB pericarditis. Okay, on auscultatory finding, it is the pericardial friction rub, and because of the rupture between the outer layers of the heart, there is a serofibrinous exudate present. So it persists on holding breath. So what is the difference with breath holding test? So breath holding test becomes positive, that means a negative. So breath holding test means, so when the breath is held, the rub is not heard, so that is the not heard, so that is the plural rub, and that is heard, so that is the cardiac problem, so it is the pericardial rub. Okay, so then coming to the ECG findings. So ECG investigations is the ST segment, but it is concave upwards. Okay, P wave, QRS, sorry, P wave. Okay, so this is the thing, but whereas in case of concave upwards, so this is the in case of myocardial infarction, and it is oh no, here it is the pericardial thing. When the same way This is myocardial infarction with the T-wave inversion. So this is empty. Then acute pericarditis. 11 out of 12 leads show this ST elevation, whereas in MI, only typical few leads shows it, and there is a reciprocal change which also shows in the ST depression. And the normal P and T waves are always upside down, and you will get reciprocal segment. Okay. Echocardiography. So echocardiography shows minimum pericardial efficient and CV Nadgin expert on the pericardial fluid antitubercular treatment for the 6 months. Okay. So what is the complications of constructive pericarditis and acute tubercular pericarditis to the restrictive pericarditis? Equal treated case of tubercular pericarditis calcified like eggshell develop around. So which will limit the filling of the heart from outside. Turbulence is created in the diastole when the blood strikes the calcified ventricle. So auscultative finding is the pericardial shudder. Auscultative finding is the pericardial shudder or shock or knock. Constrictive pericarditis, okay, is always heard after the opening snap. Pericardial shudder mimics the third heart sound. Pericardial shudder is the high pitched heart sound. Mimics bell is used, okay. Okay, so that's up with the S1 heart sound, and mid systolic clicks are heard in the MVP. Mid systolic clicks MVP. So only one additional point I have just discussed here. So that is the mid systolic, mid to late diastolic murmur. Mid to late diastolic murmur is heard in atrial myxoma. So that's it. So you have just completed the first section. It is the S1 heart sound, and then we will just resume with the S2 heart sound. Okay, S2. So then resuming with the second heart sound. So second heart sound. So as we have discussed, it is the characterized by the can you remember? So that is the closure. So the closure of the A to P2. So this is the sequel we have just learnt. Okay, so I will just change my pen here. Okay. So yes. Okay. So A2 and P2. This is the sequence you have just learned. So what is the time lag between these two? Is 30 milliseconds. So this is known as physiological splitting, and it is the physiological splitting, and it is the best observed in the phase of inspiration. So they placed the steth as the Erb's point. So what is the Erb's point? So Erb's point is nothing but the keep your it's in the left side of the chest, third intercostal space. Okay, so left chest, third intercostal space, parasternal line. Okay, S2 is equal to A2 to 30 seconds to P2. So left third intercostal space, parasternal line. So when the split is less than 30 milliseconds, so it is the narrow split, and it is the more than 30 milliseconds, it is the wide split. So clinical condition. It is the aortic stenosis, and there is a turbulence or murmur when left ventricle ejects blood into the aorta. Okay, left ventricle ejects blood into the aorta, and the second is the 80 ml of blood exits normal, and in aortic stenosis it will take extra time. So aortic, who already said that. Okay, so this is the A2 here and this is the P2 here. So so it takes an extra time. So aortic does not closure, and thus there is a delayed closure, and it becomes closed. So it is the narrow split, and A2 approaches P2. And management of calcified stenotic valve, it is the aortic valve replacement, and in this condition it is not managed surgically. If the condition is not managed surgically, the condition continues to progress. So A2 will close even more later, leading to when can close at the same time. So or maybe single loud S2, or it can even go to the after AP2. So here it is the A2 dash. So it can also cause the reverse splitting. Okay, so reverse splitting or paradoxical splitting of the S2. So this is seen in calcified aortic valve or stenosed aortic valve. Okay, aortic stenosis. So this is the thing we are just discussing here. And then coming to the causes of the valvular aortic. So valvular aortic causes. So valvular aortic stenosis causes is the bicuspid aortic valve infantile presentation, and in the child the cause is the rheumatic heart disease, and in adults there is the more than 60 ways of a senile calcification. So in child it is the bicuspid aortic valve and rheumatic heart disease, and in adult it is the senile calcification. That then a bimodal age of distribution is present because even child and adult. So then coming to the clinical feature, so clinical feature is the SAD. So what is the SAD? Syncope on exertion, because there is a decreased cardiac output because of the aortic stenosis, and there is an angina because the subendocardial demand will be increased. Left ventricular hypertrophy is seen, so increased demand. So there's an difference between the demand and the supply. So the demand is increased but the supply is normal, so that is called a subendocardial ischemia, and there is a dyspnea. So dyspnea is the increased left ventricular filling pressure, pulmonary edema due to diastolic malfunction. On examination there is an pulsus stardust yet parvus, there is an anacrotic pulse. So this is the pulsus stardust yet parvus. So this is the anacrotic pulse. Okay, so this is the anacrotic pulse. So normally in carotid artery, pulse tends to peak in the mid of the systole, then the pressure tends to ease off with the uh, normally the S1, S1, S2. So normally in a carotid artery, the pressure tends to peak in the middle of the systole, and then pressure tends to ease off with the dicrotic notch. The dicrotic notch right after the S2 in valvular stenosis. So this is how it goes. So in valvular stenosis, due to the outlet obstruction pressure, the pressure takes time to rise peak of. In valvular stenosis, due to the outlet obstruction pressure, due to the pressure takes time to rise peak. So which means that it won't attain the peak here because of the obstruction. So S1 and S2. So S2 is the closing of the aortic valve, so that is the closure. There is a prolonged A2, so here only it rises. Okay, so it rises due to the raises big and the pulse is delayed, and a smaller dicrotic notch is seen instead. Smaller dicrotic and the rapid fall is being as the slow rising pulse is called as the pulsus stardust et parvus, and then the double apical impulse, heart relatively bigger at apex. Okay, so fifth or sixth intercostal space, heart is bigger. And then S2, so S2 is the narrow split, or maybe the single paradoxical split. So S2 is the narrow split, single paradoxical split. So S4 is third. Okay, S2 is the narrow split. A single paradoxical split can be heard in case of aortic stenosis, and S4 is heard. Left ventricular hypertrophy. If left atrial hypertrophy, so atrial kick becomes 4 big. So extra generated by the left atria is responsible for the S4. Auscultation murmur is heard. Increase and decrease of the spike intensity not constant. So this is called the ejection systolic murmur. Ejection systolic murmur, because of the forced opening of the M&T, it produces the ejection systolic murmur, but it varies. So AKA is the crescendo decrescendo murmur. Alternatively, this pulse is also called as the anacrotic pulse. So the three characteristic keywords are the pulses, tardus et tardus. Okay, pulses, tardus et parvus, anacrotic pulse, crescendo decrescendo. So all Latin names here. Aortic stenosis, valvular aortic stenosis. Okay, so what is the investigation of choice? Is the transthoracic echo plus or minus coronary angiography in case of a senile group, and to detect a coexistent arthrocerebral triple vessel disease is seen in a geriatric population. So triple vessel for symptomatic AS, transcatheter aortic valve replacement plus coronary stent bypassing graft CABG. Symptomatic AS for asymptomatic wait and watch, as intraoperative mortality approaches more than 1%. So pediatric, it is the balloon. So pediatrics, the child likes balloon, so it is the balloon valvotomy. So for symptomatic as a transcatheter aortic replacement plus or minus coronary artery bypass grafting. So transcatheter aortic valve replacement plus or minus coronary bypass grafting. Pediatric is the balloon valvotomy, and important terms. So coming to the carotid thrill and carotid dancing carotid. So dancing carotid AR thrill. So thrill because he is dominant. So carotid thrill. So carotid thrill is the aortic stenosis, whereas the dancing is the aortic regurgitation. So then coming to the severe aortic stenosis. So what is the severe aortic stenosis? The narrowing of the aortic airways less than 1 centimeter square and a transvalvular gradient. Left ventricle and aortic gradient is more than 40 mm/Hg and the ejection velocity is more than 4 millimeter per second. Okay, so these are the three typical things. So you can just cleanse the diagnosis of severe aortic stenosis when there is a narrow aortic segment. Okay, less than 1 narrowing of then the left ventricular pressure is more than 40, and then ejection velocity is more than 4 millimeters. So the normal ejection velocity is equal to 1 millimeter 1 meter per ejection velocity is 4 meter per second. Here it is normal, it is the 1 meter per second. So super severe. So super severe means there is a more. So here it is the transvalvular pressure gradient is the 40, but it goes to the 55 ejection velocity. Here it is 4 and it goes to the 5.5. Okay, so 44, 44, 55, 5.5. So patent ductus arteriosus, next condition. So what is the patent ductus arteriosus? So patent ductus arteriosus. So patent ductus arteriosus is nothing but a left to right shunt causing the left ventricular failure. So the exit of the blood takes time. Okay, so same. Okay, so exit of the blood takes extra time to close because there is a left ventricular failure is already out there because of the PDA, patent ductus arteriosus. Okay, so there is an A2 goes to this side, so there is a narrow split. Okay, in late stages physiological split can also occur. So preterm child at birth, presentation preterm child at birth, whereas in case of the term it is the 6 weeks and the child becomes breathless on breastfeeding along with excessive sweating. Child infant gets irritable due to poor intake, narrow splitting, murmur is continuous missionary murmur. Okay, so the continuous missionary murmur is seen. It is the systole, this is the diastole. So containing heard in both systole and diastole, peak of the murmur is in the S2, and then transthoracic echocardiography, it is the investigation of choice. And then preterm child. So in the preterm child you can give indomethacin or ibuprofen for the closure of the PDA, whereas in term child and 1 year old it is only surgical ligation. Then causes of the narrow split. So what are the causes of the narrow split? Is the left ventricular failure of PDA, anterior MI, Coxsackie B, with very severe anemia, everything causes left ventricular failure. So one causes of the narrow split, and the next is the aortic stenosis. Aortic stenosis, left ventricular failure, and left ventricular failure, MI most common, PDA common, Coxsackie B, with very severe anemia. So everything causes left ventricular failure, and there is an aortic stenosis, and there is a subvalvular aortic stenosis or HOCM, obstructive cardiomyopathy, hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. Then coming to the, let us discuss about the narrow, and then coming to the wide split S2. So wide split will increase in load. So increase in load is the MR. So blood exit time becomes less, closes early. Wide split. So maybe MR, VSD. So in ventricular septal defect also the blood volume becomes small, so closes early. LV to LA shunting, less time. Most common congenital heart disease is the VSD. And then A2 closes early. So when coming to the atrial septal defect, so atrial septal relative more blood in the RV, exit time more. So exit time is more here. So this is the P2 becomes more. Okay, so A2 is good here. P2 becomes more in left side of the heart. Less blood, less time. A2 closes early. Wide split. In the left side of the heart, less blood. Exit time is less time A2 close early. So wide split. That is the main causes. In normal person, more blood during into the RV, on the LV during inspiration and lesser in expiration. And the A2 does not depend upon the respiration because it is present on the right, left, whereas the P2 is oscillating with respiration because it is present on their right. Okay, right goes with respiration. Okay, RA to RV in inspiration, but here it doesn't go. So A2 does not depend upon respiration, P2 is oscillating with respiration. So why is S2 fixed split in AST? Shunt is not operational in phase of inspiration as more blood causes equilibrium of pressure between the left and right atria. Okay, so why is the S2 fixed split in AST? So shunt is not operational in phase of inspiration as more blood causes equilibrium of pressure between the left and right atria. Shunt operates only in the expirational phase. Hence, equal amount of blood present in the right ventricle is in P2 does not vary with the in atrial septal defect. What happens? So in atrial septal defect, the shunt is not operation phase of inspiration, as more blood causes equilibration of pressure between the left and right atria. Equilibration of pressure occurs because the blood is more in case of inspiration in the heart. So because the shunt operates only in expiration phase, hence equal amount of blood is present in the inspiration and expiration, so does not vary with the in case of ASD. So S2 becomes fixed. So shunt murmur. Okay, so shunt murmur, flow murmur. Shunt murmur means shunt murmur is absent. Okay, so shunt murmur is absent. CO2 pressure difference between the atria and the ventricle is 4 mmHg, and there is a flow murmur. So flow murmur in the middle diastolic murmur, thoracic echocardiography, it shows goose neck defect. It shows goose neck defect, and the treatment is the occlusion device. And the treatment is the occlusion device. Okay, shunt murmur is absent and flow murmur is middle diastolic. The treatment is the occlusion device, and then coming to the discussing the right and left bundle branch. RBVV, LVVV. So okay, so what happens here? So here it is a delayed information provided to the right valve. So that is the right bundle ion leads to the delayed rods. The right side is the pulmonary. So delayed goes to the P2, and another one is the T1. So there is a wide split S2. Okay, and then S1 wide. Whereas in case of left pulmonary it goes early. So there is a narrow split S2 early. M1 and A2. And refractive period of the right fascicle is always higher than the left fascicle. So the current goes first to the left side than to the right. Okay, refractive period is very high in case of right. And then in S1 is equal to, because the current first goes to the left side and then to the right side. A2, P2 also the same. So when coming to the right bundle branch block, S1 and S2 is equal to normal. T1 wide split. Okay, S2 wide split S1, wide split S2. Similarly, variability with respect to inspiration heard in right and branch block and ventricular septal defect. Variability with respect to inspiration and expiration heard in RBBS and left bundle branch block. M1 is delayed, so there is a narrow splitting of the S1 and there is a narrow splitting of the S2. And then Wolff-Parkinson White syndrome. So Wolff-Parkinson White syndrome type A and type B. So both are in a way similar to each other. So what is it? So Wolff-Parkinson White syndrome type A. A bundle of Kent is the left side, that it has no decremental property, hence conducts fast. Unlike AV noding, which is slow conducting, so impulses will reach the left side through this pathway and will be delayed to the right side because the current is not using Purkinje network but using intermyocyte conduction. Okay, so the impulses will reach the left side through this pathway and will be delayed to the right. Already there is a delay, so it will also be delay. So it behaves like a RBBB. So RBBB means there is an wide split S1 and S2, wide variable split S2. Okay, then coming to the type B. So type B is the right side, so it comes here. The narrow splitting occurs here. The delayed information provided to the left ventricle and it behaves like a LBBB. Okay. Then causes of the narrow splitting. So causes of the narrow splitting is the type B Wolff-Parkinson, left bundle branch block, both are same. Patent ductus are left ventricular failure, aortic stenosis, hypertensive obstructive cardiomyopathy, left ventricular failure. So why I am just saying these things is that, okay, so causes of the narrow split, we have already seen that in case of aortic stenosis what happens means aorta becomes stenosed, so there is an decreased aorta becomes stenosed, so there is a decreased volume. Yes, left to right shunt. In patent ductus arteriosus there is an exit of blood takes the extra time, so A2 closes later, so there is a narrow split. Same occurs in left ventricular failure. A2 closes later, so narrow split. Patent ductus arteriosus, inferior volume, everything, aortic stenosis, hypertension, obstructive cardiomyopathy, everything will produce a late closure of the A2. That is the reason for the A2 P2 comes together, so narrow split S2. And left bundle branch block also similar only, but it involves that conduction system defect. Wolff-Parkinson wide type B, it is also the conduction system defect only. Then coming to the wide split. So wide split, it is the variable split. So variable split means, so where and all it can come. So variable split means it is the wide, as I have said, that mitral regurgitation. So mitral regurgitation, what happens in a mitral regurgitation means, so there is a decrease in the blood output, okay, in MR. So as a result of which the A2 closes early, A2 closes early, so that causes the variable split, and there is a right bundle branch block, and there is a right bundle branch block. There is a delayed flow. There is a late closure of the pulmonary valve, so that causes the wide split S2. And coming to the ventricular septal defect, so what happens in the ventricular septal defect? Ventricular septal defect means the blood goes from here to there. Okay, right side it goes more load is transmitted to the ear, so P2 closes later. So these are the reasons. So exactly opposite occurs in the ASD. So ASD, I have already said that it is fixed because during in inspiration, I have already explained, right? In inspiration, shunt is not operational in case of inspiration, as more blood is present in the heart, equal distribution between the right and left. Only in the expiration phase, hence equal amount of blood is present in the right and right ventricle in inspiration and expiration, and hence it does not vary with the expiration. Okay, so this ASD. So ASD is present in Hall-Torum syndrome, total anomalous pulmonary venous connection, and ASD plus MS, it is the Lutter-Flasher syndrome. Okay, so Hall-Torum syndrome, it is the ASD plus absent radius. Lutter-Flasher is the ASD plus mitral stenosis, and total anomalous pulmonary venous connection. Total anomalous pulmonary venous connection, increase in the pulmonary venous pressure, so increase the time for the movement of the uh, P2. So widespread. So we have discussed this heart sounds 2 completed. Okay, and now we are just starting with the heart sound 3. Okay, then coming to the third heart sound. So first heart sound is the says that the M1 T1 closure, and it depends upon the intensity is directly proportional to the speed of closure, and there is a loud S1. So loud S1 means it indicates tachycardia. Okay, loud S1 which is tachycardia, and pulse rate is inversely proportional to the heart rate. I mean the PR interval is inversely proportional to the heart rate, and there is a short PR interval, congestive heart failure, pheochromocytoma, thyrotoxicosis. So what happens? So in thyrotoxicosis there is an increased pheochromocytoma, there is an increased. So congestive heart failure, initially it is increased. So short PR interval, it is increased. So increased contraction is being happening, so it causes the tachycardia. And physiologically in children and in pregnancy, because of the increased BMR, it happens, and in mitral stenosis, and there is a physiological obstruction, it leads to the increased left atrial pressure. So left atrial pressure, it increases the transvalvular gradient between the left atrium and the ventricle, and there is a faster opening of the mitral valve and faster elastic recoil of the mitral valve. So mitral stenosis and tricuspid stenosis causes the loud S1. Okay, then coming to the soft S1. So soft S1, it is mainly by the calcified mitral stenosis. So it is the elastic recoil decreases. So it causes the soft S1. So soft S1 denotes the bradycardia. So it is the prolonged PR, it is the hypo, and it is the sixth sinus syndrome, SA node problem, or maybe the AV node problem. It is the third degree heart block. So SA node problem, it is the sixth sinus syndrome, S for S, and there is the atrial ventricular AV node problem, there is the third degree heart block, and BOH, it is the Mobitz type 2. Okay, so it is the Mobitz type 2 heart block, and there is an inferior wall MI. So there is a morbid obesity. So morbid obesity, there is an fat in chest wall or emphysema or heart trapping inferior wall MI. Morbid obesity is also because of the soft S. The S1 also machine morbid obesity, fat in chest or emphysema, heart trapping, everything causes the soft S1 calcified AMS and MS due to the reduced elastic calcified MSMI produces soft. Okay, and then mitral regurgitation, tricuspid regurgitation, it also produces the soft S1. So remember the variations in the S1 asked in case of mitral stenosis. So there can be a narrow split S1, single S1, paradoxical split S1, loud S1, soft S1. So loud S1, mitral stenosis, and there is a stage of failure, it can happen. Soft S1, calcified, paradoxical split. Usually there won't be any split, but in case of the narrow split, it is the M1 T1, right? So the M1 closes late because of some stenosis, so it becomes the narrow M1 T1. So single split S1, when it goes together, it is the M1 T1. Same, so it's single split, and that it goes after, it is the T1 M1, that is the paradoxical split. So these are the variations in the mitral stenosis. So, and also the reverse splitting. So the reverse splitting is also called as the paradoxical splitting. Yeah. So the transit LA into LV, it's becoming better. Okay. Then coming to the S3 and S4, I already said that S3 is a ventricular gallop and S4 is the atrial gallop. So there is a rapid ventricular filling in the dilated ventricles. So it is the congestive heart failure, and then ventricular gallop and atrial gallop. It is the late diastolic sound, early diastolic and late diastolic. Okay. Because in late diastolic only the atrial gallop has to happen, right? So it is the outflow, coming to the this one, this is the congestive heart failure. So what happens is the congestive heart failure because of the rapid ventricular filling in the dilated ventricles, and second is the dilated cardiomyopathy, all enlarged conditions, COPD, and pulmonary embolism, acute cor pulmonale. Cor pulmonale means RV, right ventricular failure without cardiac causes, that is the cor pulmonale. Then coming to the late diastolic, the late diastolic means the outflow tract obstruction, LVH, left atrial hypertrophy, and there is an atrial stenosis. There is a stenosis here. There is a HOCM here. There is a long-standing hypertension here. There is a long-standing hypertension here. There is a pulmonary stenosis here. Then there is a pulmonary arterial hypertension here. Hypertension, this causes this causes this, and this causes this. HOCM, left ventricular hypertrophy, left atrial hypertrophy. These are the left sided. These are the right sided. And here is the right sided is the COPD and the pulmonary embolism. Now, cor pulmonale, okay, then coming to this is the S3 and this is the S4. This is the ventricular gallop, this is the atrial gallop. So S4 means, remember the A, left ventricular hypertrophy, left atrial hypertrophy, atrial stenosis, pulmonary stenosis, pulmonary arterial hypertension, long-standing alveolar hypertension. And S4 is absent in atrial fibrillation. This is very very important. Another one here. Okay, so then coming to the JVP. So these are the four heart sounds. Then coming to the JVP. So the JVP is in a way very very simple. So what is JVP? So JVP is in a way very very simple thing. So coming first, we will discuss about the waves present in the VVP. It is the A, C, X, V, Y. So A is the atrial systole, C is the bulge, A, C, bulge, IVC. Because of the IVC written, there is a bulge. Okay. Then coming to the X is a negative. I will just explain. It's a ventricular systole. I will just explain. It is the interventricular period of relaxation, rebound, and Y, it is the diastasis. Can you remember the phase it has the least muscular activity, least motor activity is the diastasis, and JVP is internal jugular vein, and 5 to 8 centimeter H2O at angle of Lewis. Angle of Lewis atrial systole. Inter pulsations seen, never felt. Okay, pulsations are seen, never felt, and 2 into carotid frequency. Okay, so then coming to, there is an atrial systole, there is an so what happens in the atrial systole? So atrial systole, there is an contraction of the atrium, okay, against the closed IV C and the empty, okay, empty. It causes atrial systole, A wave in JVP, and next thing it is the isovolumetric contraction period. There is an increase in ventricular filling, and ventricular pressure increases against the closed aortic and pulmonary valves. So it causes the IVC in isovolumetric contraction. So it causes the bulge. So that bulge produces the upward vector is the A, and then causes the then what happens? So then what happens is the opening of the pulmonary and aortic valve. So it results in the decreased of the pressure in the ventricle, as a result of which, and also the next cycle the atrial systole initiates. So there is a rapid ventricular systole. So there is a rapid there is a descent, that is X wave, and then coming to the V. So V is nothing but so the valve again become closed, and the M and T also closed, P and MT closed, AP closed. So during this time there is an inflow of the this thing entry into the blood into the atrium through the IVC. So because of this there is an increase in atrial pressure developing, that is the uh, V wave. And then Y, so Y is the rapid filling of the ventricles, so that is the Y. Okay, ventricular filling VY. Okay, so then coming to the again, so atrial systole A, and there is an isovolumetric contraction bulge, so that is the C. And then X is the ventricular systole, and then X is the ventricular systole, and V is the isovolumetric relaxation, there is a rebound, and Y is the diastasis. JVP is the infrajugular vein, 5 to 8 centimeter. H2 is the normal at the Louis angle. Pulsations never seen, but only pulsations are never seen, or was seen only never felt, or Louis angle. Felt is the carotid pulse. So deep inspiration, there is an increase in the blood movement into the heart. So there is a JV falls, there is normal negative pressure, sucks blood, but in constrictive pericarditis the negative pressure is not so deep. So JVP rises, there shows the decrease in the compliance. So the causes of the Kussmaul sign. So Kussmaul sign is Kussmaul means, just remember one word. Kussmaul means increased JVP. So increased JVP we can see in the constrictive pericarditis because of the calcification, and there is a restrictive myopathy, or there is an right congestive heart failure in case of inferior wall MI, or maybe the pulmonary embolism, or maybe COPD. So everything causes the Kussmaul sign increase in JVP, and the non-pulsatile elevated GVP is seen in cardiac tamponade and SVC thrombosis. This is very very important, and the Kussmaul signs are absent here. There is an increase in JVP, but there is no Kussmaul sign. Okay, so what are the two non-cardiogenic, no non-pulsatile elevated GVP, pulsatile elevated GVP is the Kussmaul sign. Non-pulsatile means SVC thrombosis and cardiac tamponade. Okay, only two medical conditions where you can find non-pulsatile elevated. And then coming to the large EA. So large EA means against the pressure, where whenever the pressure is increasing, so any condition which increases this MS, PS, TS, okay, long standing, okay, it can cause this large EA wave and pulmonary arterial hypertension also. Because pulmonary arterial hypertension, there is a right ventricular hypertrophy, it causes the right atrium. So like that it can, and then in three conditions. Okay, pulmonary arterial hypertension seen in three conditions is scleroderma, connective tissue disorder, and fenfluramine and weight loss medicine, and Eisenmenger syndrome complex. And then coming to the tetralogy of Fallot, it is the subpulmonic stenosis, and then Epstein anomaly. Okay, and then tricuspid stenosis, pulmonary stenosis, mitral stenosis, scleroderma, fenfluramine, SFE, SEF. Okay, syndrome, fenfluramine, and then TYF is the subpulmonic stenosis, and there is an Epstein anomaly. And there is an Epstein anomaly, and then absent AVF. So absent AVF atrial fibrillation, I already said absent AVF in fibrillation, and also S4 is also absent. Okay, atrial fibrillation is the most common sustained arrhythmia in the clinical practice. P wave is absent, A wave is absent, S4 is absent. So three main conditions typical of the atrial fibrillation is the S4 absent, done, P wave absent, okay, in ECG, and A wave absent in GVP. Everything contributes to the atrial condition. Okay, if there is a defective atrial system, that's what it denotes. Then coming to the giant Cannon wave or flock sign, it is because of the AV dissociation. So the AV dissociation, both the simultaneous contraction, because of the both simultaneous contraction, there is an relative increase in the pressure in the atrium. So what is the two condition? It is the ventricular tachycardia, or maybe the junctional tachycardia. Okay, and then a complete third degree heart block, and then there is an absent X descent. So in which condition there is an absent X descent, and which condition there is an absent Y descent? So in absent X descent, I already said that what is X denotes. So what is X denotes means it is in A, C, and because of the opening of the pulmonary and aortic valve. Okay, so the pressure difference. Okay, the pressure only makes the opening of the pulmonary and aortic valve, but here the pressure difference is not very much significant, so that can occur in case of a tricuspid regurgitation. So what happens in the tricuspid, in a severe tricuspid regurgitation, there is an instead of the descent, there is an ascent. Okay, so that is the thing. Instead of the descent, there is an ascent here, and there is a steep y descent and the rapid x ascent. That is called as the CV wave. So here it is not called as the X wave because X is coming here, but it is not seen, so it is called as the CV wave. As a result of which absent X wave is tricuspid regurgitation, and there is an Y descent is an absent diastole. So when is the absent diastole? Because the blood is not moving from the atrium to the ventricle in case of cardiac tamponade. Okay, in cardiac tamponade it is normal. So what happens with the cardiac tamponade is that there is an filling of the heart decreases, and then cardiac output decreases. There is an obstructive shock. Already the blood is very low, and also there is a pulses. Pulses paradoxus means inspiration, pulse disappears, okay, and then BP becomes low and S1 S2 muffled, SVC becomes JVP Y becomes absent, non-pulsatile elevated GVP, cardiac tamponade, and SPC thrombosis. Because the intrapericardial pressure is more than the pressure, as a result of which there is no movement of the blood from the atrium to the ventricle, relatively no. So that what happens here. So what coming to the reverse Boehm defect. Reverse Boehm effect. What is it? So normal difference in SBP is systolic blood pressure is the less than 10 mm between inspiration and expiration. When it exceeds 12, it is called as pulses paradoxus, and it is seen in cardiac tamponade. Okay, so JVP quick summary. So JVP large PAH, absent atrial fibrillation, super large EA canal, ventricular tachycardia, ventricular junctional tachycardia, and complete heart block or third degree heart block. Okay, and then absent X TR and also steep Y TR, absent Y steep X, the other way around, it's the cardiac tamponade. So what is the steep, what does it show? So because there is no way there is development of the pressure, it becomes so stiff, so that is the result of the steep, and there is an absent Y. Okay, then there is a steep X and steep Y in the case of the constrictive pericarditis. And Kussmaul sign, it is the CP, RM, and RVF, right ventricular failure, restrictive cardiomyopathy, and constrictive pericarditis, and two non-elevated JVP. Non-elevated JVP is seen in cardiac tamponade and especially thrombosis. Okay, so as a result of which we have just completed the S1, S2, S3, and the JVP. Done. Now we are starting with the conditions, mitral valve, valvular diseases. Thank you.